always can talk about vacations. What is going on? It is This Week in the House of Fraud, back with Brian and Jordan. What's happening? Haven't talked to you in a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks. You were on vacation. I believe I was on vacation kind of at the beginning of your vacation too. I don't do long like weeks usually. I do long weekends, so I leave like Friday and come back Monday, sort of thing. Anything longer than that, I start to feel guilty. So I don't typically go for long. But how was your vacation?
Good. And the guiltiness has changed, well, last 2 years, 3 years. And main bit is definitely having kids. I was always the person of like,
Family.
yeah, family. Where I'd go on vacation and it's like I would take the meeting on the Friday or the Monday just so I'd be like, I'm gonna save the
Mhm.
PTO day. It's like, what are we gonna be
Yeah,
doing today?
yeah.
It fits. All right, I'm gonna show up to the meeting. I'm gonna say I worked a half day because you guys making me show up or whatever, and I'll save the PTO. I the best vacation I took was we had a vacation plan. This was years ago now, and it was right after I quit a job and I had another job lined up. And I was always the same person of like, quit a job Friday, starting Monday. Works for some people, doesn't work for everyone. But that time I took the vacation off, like I literally have nothing to check. I
That's
can't get
crazy.
into the next
Did you get
company.
bored?
No, I actually just did things without my phone and
Wow.
computer on vacation. It's wild. Um, but this one in the last couple we've taken with kids is like kids with vacation with kids isn't a vacation what you're used to. And it's not, but
Yeah.
it like the brain power that goes into parenting on vacations, like that's what I would have done by checking my Slack, my email. So I'm forced to be like, "Oh, well, I don't have time to work anymore on vacation. So I have these strong boundaries of handling parenting. So it's like a little bit of it's challenging without a doubt. Vacation is definitely a little bit different, but it is nice to actually be forced to
So
take that break and come back fresh.
So what kind of vacationer are you? Are you like a let's go on a hike vacationer? Are you a swim up bar guy? Are you a visit all the sites and see all the things? Go up to the observation deck? Like what kind of vacationer are you guys?
Definitely priority one is pool bar
Okay.
by the beach.
Me too.
Less things that we have to worry about. Lots of down days, pool days, beach days. Maybe and explore 1 or 2 if we're gone for a week. So it's like a little bit of a balance of that. Mm, Typically being driven by a boat or a car to see
Okay.
things and less walking and
Yep.
hiking. Now, I'll stop and take a picture from the boat or the car, but I prefer not to I'm active, so my vacations are my rest time. We now with kids a little bit harder because it's like, well, you got to pack all these things. I don't want to travel all these. So we're fortunate enough we live next to a town where there's a ferry that goes to Martha's Vineyard. So we've been doing Martha's Vineyard for a while. So it's just like pack the cart up, load it up, and then just hop on the ferry and get to the island. And then it just brings a different vibe there. And there's no pool bars there, but rent a house, and then there's a
Yeah.
couple nice towns on the water and hop around in a couple
Go get
different
some
areas
ice
there,
cream,
so
all that shit.
yeah, good ice cream.
Yeah, isn't that's kind of like the thing, right?
Who
um.
doesn't like ice cream?
Okay. I mean, look, yeah, I'm a from time to time ice cream. We have like this really nice like I didn't even know. It's this place called Rich Farm. It's at the end of my street, and apparently it's like either the best or the second best, depending on who you speak to, ice cream in all of Orange County. And like it's pretty good. It's pretty rich though. And like I'm not a
Yeah.
big sweets guy. So like I've probably had it 3 times. But their portions are unreal. Like I get the kids. I'm like, just give me the children's one, and I barely ever finish that because it's just too much. It's too much ice cream. But they have this cotton candy one. Ooh, it's so good.
Cotton
I have
candy is
to
the flavor? Cotton candy is the flavor.
so let me tell you another story from
Alright.
the other time. Okay, so Truly, seltzer company. Every once in a while, I have seltzers if I don't want to get all bloated to holy hell. And so, like, I was walking through the store. Lately, they've been making me like cough a lot, so I haven't been like they just been making me not feel good. So Haven't been
You're
I've
getting
been
old.
off the seltzer game for a while. Yep, definitely. Like, it's Corona Premiers and, like, Buffalo Trace are, like, the only things I can drink. Oh, and margaritas. But, so Truly came out with a summer pack that has a cotton candy flavor, and I was like, "Hell yeah." So I bought the 12 pack, threw it in the fridge outside, and, grabbed the one and walked over to the neighbors. Just one single cotton candy. Granted, it tasted like cotton candy. It did. But I nursed that thing for almost 2 hours and then just felt like ass afterwards.
Yeah,
Like, and
it
I
should
will not I gave all the Red
not
11 away.
natural. It's not like cotton candy is a natural food. So if you're gonna get cotton candy flavored anything, I can't imagine the ingredients being put into it are close to cage free.
I will say that the, carb count in Truly's went up from it was like 1 or 2 to, like, now it's 3. Like, it's gonna be a lot of carbs, boys. Like,
You're truly
let's
carb
slow our
counting.
Truly game down. Yeah, because it used to be you could have the whole 12 pack and stay in ketosis if you were on keto. Used to be. But, now not necessarily. Actually, Corona Premier has less carbs than that Truly Cotton Candy did, and that's, like, my main beer. So, but
So I think
should
moral
we
of the
talk
story is take your vacation, take your time,
take time.
and
Don't drink Truly.
Truly's carbs are going up. And if you want heartburn, envy, and coughing fits or whatever it may be, then Truly's the way to
Sound
go.
like I got emphysema. One Truly, it sound like I got emphysema, man. So should we talk fraud a little bit?
I think we can talk fraud a little bit.
So, a couple of posts this week. I think the main one that I thought was interesting, the most interesting to me was obviously the TC40 ECI code one. I think a lot of people don't a lot of people don't read their TC40 or safe data at all because they just don't realize it exists. So those are documents for stuff that is usually liability shifted, that chargebacks that you won't see. Like, they won't go to your chargeback queues. You won't receive them. So they go into the TC40 or the safe reports. TC40 for Visa, safe for Mastercard. And it's important if you have access to those reports to look at them, because you'll see people that are charging back that you might have not known were charging back. So any actions that you take on accounts, like locking accounts or canceling future shipments, any of those sorts of things, you would miss if you're not looking at those reports. But inside those reports also tells you the what's called an ECI code. And ECI means electronic commerce indicator, but no one's ever going to say that. They're just going to call it an ECI code. And there's a bunch of different numbers on those, like 5 and 7, 2 and 1, and they all mean different things. And they tell you what the liability is on that. They also tell you if there's any errors on that. So some great examples that, like, I have, like, my cheat code that I use. It's always on the side of my computer monitor. Is liability shifted is 2 for Mastercard, 5 for Visa. Not shifted is 1 for Mastercard and 6. Wait, we're going to 6 for Visa. And then errors are 00 for MC and single '07 for Visa. So those are, like, the ones that you're going to encounter the most. There was a couple of questions, great questions on this group. I'm going to leave the discussion on there because if you want to see the discussion and know more, you're going to have to go in there and take a look yourself. So, thoughts, prayers, considerations?
I mean, you got me nothing on that. I think the other thing that I think about with this is depending on the tools that you use or the payment processors that you have, it might be a little bit harder to find these reports. Some are pretty easy, some set up daily reports, some don't, some are hidden, but also some allow you to set up some automations that if you get a
Mm,
signal for these, you automatically refund them. So then they might
yep.
be blurred out into how you collect your data, how you navigate it, your processes. Now, because it comes in as a refund, depending on how you're set up, that might be like a customer operations team is now responsible for those. But is it tied to customer operations or payments fraud, whatever it may be? So that's another just nuance that I want to call out to this is depending on what tools you use, depending on how your operations and automations are set up can cause a little bit more clarity or confusion into being able to find and use this data and what you might want to take it out of. Like, if another team is handling this information, now you have to go to another team to pull that data, or do you have access to it? So, kind of sometimes of like the hard question is, okay, do I have these and where do I find them?
Yep.
S- Starting setup of like how your company is, who handles what parts of these processes will help point you in the right direction of like who you might need help from, either gaining access to it, or better understanding the full comprehensive view of it all.
Yeah, and I think, in the past, because ECI codes are very much for 3D secure, EMV 3D secure, if you want the official name. And in the past, I've used the ECI codes to determine what my next steps are going to be. So, am I going to continue on the transaction, push it to a secondary fraud review of any kind, whether that'll be step up like an emailage or CADAs or anything like that? Go to a manual review. Some people do that, or decline the transaction outright. So using the ECI code, you kind of determine what the next step of your transactions are going to be on a more sophisticated payment structure. It's important to know like your breakdown if you're a 3D secure user, like what the percentage of your transactions are liability shifted versus or not. Usually it's around the mid to high 70s are usually liability shifted, with the remaining being not. Um, so people that draw a hard line on if it's not liability shifted, decline the transaction, could be potentially missing out on upwards of 20% or more of their sales. Now, I think that that's dependent on the riskiness of the products you sell. So, doing like money transfers or lending or something like that, I would probably lean more towards declining something that doesn't have a liability shift, just because there's so much on the line with that, versus selling a digital transaction or something that can be pulled back pretty easily if there is a chargeback that comes back from that. So you got to kind of know where you want to go with those. But I think as people really do get further into their fraud prevention journey, and play more in the payment sandbox, these sorts of things are gonna be more relevant because they do play hand in hand versus like where the payment status is versus what you need to do with the fraud prevention at the other end of it. So yeah.
Knowing where your data is huge.
Yeah.
Being able to
And
be like,
because
where's it stored? And then
yeah,
you can pull off your trends and patterns. Like it's one thing to be able to slice and dice and be able to pull your patterns and be able to dig through it. But if you don't know where it is, or you're pulling from the wrong database, then it's impossible to use.
yeah. I mean, data is everything these days, and data changes too. So make sure you're always working with your providers to make sure that any new fields they add, you're
You mean
ingesting
it's
because you
not
might
set
need
it and
those.
forget it?
Hey man, this ain't Ronco. Didn't that guy just die? I feel like he
I don't
did.
know.
My parents were obsessed with that Ronco rotisserie. I
I'm
think
gonna leave
Ronco
that one
guy
to
just
you.
died. Ron Popey. He died 2021, so he died a while ago, over 3 years ago. Anyway, so the only other one I want to talk about this week before we hit the wrap button is scam protection. Congress did their little thing talking with the banks about are they doing enough to stop Zelle scams, which scams are on the forefront of our mind. We talk about them all the time. We talked about them on this show. We talk about them on my show. We talk about them everywhere it's away from Sunday. All the
They
webinars are out
are
there.
everywhere.
They are. And Congress is trying to they put forth some legislation saying basically banks are going to have to be a little more accountable for it. Now, this is something that I've talked about
Let's
before.
see. Where are we gonna go today?
So I agree that banks need to do more. Um, I do, but I also think that
Here we go.
there needs to be a little bit of personal accountability, because I get the emails from my bank all the time that says, "Hey, watch out for these scams." When I try to use Zelle on my bank, like I say, to pay my gardener, to pay my pool guy, those are the two things that I use it for, and I pay the same amount, same time, every single month. I still get the double, triple check. When I have to use Zelle to pay my hair guy, do you know the last four of his number?
Yep.
You can have a button to skip. There's all these things that are put in place, but there's overrides. At what point does a bank put 15 things in front of a person that they power through, where the person can then send the money off to this crypto scam or this job scam and then say, I didn't know what I was doing. I can't believe you need to make me whole. You did it. Like, you still did it. Like, there needs to be a little bit of personal accountability on that. Now, I think that the banks can be more upfront and more direct and less soft with it. Absolutely. But they also need to get more intelligent about like people that I've paid multiple times over X amount of time. Get out of my way on that. So this is where I think it's going to go. It's going to go two ways. They're going to slow down Zelle payments. They're not going to be instant anymore, and that completely flies in the face of RTP or any of the faster payments initiatives out there, which sucks. But banks are going to have to make their own investment into fraud prevention tools on a stronger level, where historically they kind of push it off to the merchant to do. Now they're going to have to be playing in our space a little more, putting double checks on there. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think there's one thing that you added that I think is important. My computer is gonna die, so I gotta charge that so I don't disappear. Is There's gonna be a lot more friction is what I anticipate early
Mhm.
on. As you collect more data and kinda determine what are the patterns between good behavior, bad behavior, what leads to scams, what doesn't lead to scam. Kinda ultimately breaking down your decisioning branch for different fraud typologies and legitimate users. From those outcomes, I imagine different rails on the back end will be leveraged, AKA this path, instant payouts. This path, delayed. This path, unknown, blah, 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 blah.
If I feel
And
like the
keeping it
same
simple
guy
that
and
way.
there's like a lifetime transaction of me sent to this person over, 6 months plus of, $1,000, like that should be allowed to just go as long as it's the same,
Well, now
everything's the
you're
same,
breaking
same
down your
device.
own decisioning data,
Yeah.
like if this, then that, and this,
Yeah.
then go that route. And when you're breaking down the simplicity of the logic of the decision branches, you just walk through one scenario of this is a trusted experience. Go this route
And
instant.
and I know they're already slowing it down because when I bought that tonal and I paid the lady $2,250 through Zelle, which was under my limit for Zelle, uh, it took 5 days for her to get the payment. So I know they're already doing it. Like, they're already slowing it down and treating it more like an ACH payment versus a typical RTP payment, which was the entire point of the faster payments initiatives for RTP, FedNow, and whatever else. There's a third one I forgot, but I'm just, you know, it's been
Picks,
about a year and a half. I mean, Pix is it's still
Brazil.
it's more of a
I
yeah,
thought
but
you were just naming like general ones.
it's not a Rails. It's a brand that uses a faster payment system. I mean, but it still has to be a D2D, deposit to deposit
Yeah.
account at the end of the day. It's just Brazilian banks and it's owned by the Brazilian banks, like kind of like Hulu used to be owned by all the movie studios up here. Pix is cool though. It's cool as shit. I really like taking that payment method. I'm so happy that I don't take Boletos down there anymore. So yeah.
I I think that's it for this week. We got some busy happenings within the community. So taking a look at the calendar, we're fully packed with things on the calendar from happy hours, speed networking happy hour, lady in the house happy hour, happy hour, happy hour, happy hour,
Yeah.
to
Hey,
how to pick
we
the
like
right
to
fraud
drink.
vendor to you, expert AMA on the schedule, and then how to detect Gen AI identity fraud. So that's all
Ooh,
on the
that's a good
books.
one.
So that's all coming up within the next couple of weeks. So if you want to be a part of these conversations and not just hear about them from Jordan and myself, hit apply. We'll see you on the other side.